Hi, everybody. This is Stan Wanglund, and this is talking about mind, body, and spirit. And this is a video version. Thank you for joining me. It's January 10th, and it's freezing cold outside here in New York, but it's still a great Friday night, and I hope everybody's had a nice week. I hope you enjoyed the podcast I did the other day on New Year's resolutions, and this is kind of funny because I just did a half-hour show for you, and for some reason the audio version never came through. I don't know whether that's a good omen or a bad one or whatever. But I had a really interesting day, which most of my Fridays are like, because I volunteer on Fridays, and I volunteer not as a psychologist, which is what I do or did as a living for over 40 some odd years, but when I go to the hospital, I work in the chaplaincy or pastoral services program, and it's a wonderful experience. And today I met some just charming people. Every week I meet charming people who were so instructive. And when I was there today, I met this wonderful 95-year-old woman. And then with all the stuff going on in politics and everything else, with all the government shutdown and all the tribalism and anti-Trump and down with Pelosi and all this kind of stuff that you see in our world of the ridiculous kinds of things that go on continuously, the thought came to me, my goodness gracious, if there was ever a time to do as many things as you can on positive psychology and things pertaining to optimism, this is certainly the time. And I wanted to do a series of short videos and podcasts on optimism, as well as a lot of other interesting topics and important topics, because they're important for us. Because if you don't know that, if you're a more optimistic person, what's in it for you? And nobody's going to learn anything unless there's something in it for us. We're going to drop it, not pay attention to it or whatever. But if we become more optimistic, we feel better, we look better, we get less illnesses. When we are ill, we heal quicker, we're more fun to be around, we are more drawn to positive experiences in life, and things just in general are better. Now, again, this came to the forefront today when I was talking to this 95-year-old woman that I mentioned, and here she is in the hospital and had taken a fall, and my goodness gracious, at 95, you're expecting somebody to be like this. She must have looked like 75, and she was a beautiful white-haired woman, and clear-eyed, and nice clear complexion, and beautiful voice, and the thing that struck me about her was the eye contact that she had and the smile with everything. I like to tease with people. You can see that smile come up very easily. No frowning. Every once in a while, a little concern. Her memory was not as sharp as it could be, but just this optimistic person you could see, friendly, lovely. And after talking with her for about a half hour, 40 minutes or so, quite a long time, I said, what are the secrets that you have, or what are your feelings on life? And it was very funny. It tied into a lot of the things that I want to talk about with you today. And they were about, hey, you can't control life with everything. Life has its ups and downs. Life throws you some curveballs. You have to be grateful for things, or you should be. You should look for the best in people and situations. You should try and learn from other situations. A great deal of stuff about gratitude and rolling with the punches, as it were, and being a resilient person. I liked hearing that. It was very validating, because those are the things that I've done podcasts on. Number one, resiliency, forgiveness, gratitude. She didn't center on all that negativity. She was very aware of it, of things in her life, but no, she centered on today, the here and now, and the future. The future, even for her, as limited as her time was, she was very aware of that, but the future. So it's some of the stuff that I, would like to discuss today, as a reminder for me to share what I've learned with this wonderful lady today with all of you, and talking about mind, body, and spirit. The first thing is, what the heck is, optimism? Optimism, it's, before I even answer that question, I'll go back to it in a second. The real expert on optimism, pessimism, helplessness was a psychologist from Penn State, and also the president of the American Psychological Association, Martin Seligman. he developed this theory on what he called learned helplessness. And he got it by working with dogs in a lab, and he'd give them a shock on a grid, and the dogs couldn't escape. They couldn't turn these mild shocks off. And eventually they just laid down and gave up. And the point being is that people are like that also. If they're in situations where they don't perceive that there's any hope, they don't perceive that there's an end to the shocks or whatever, they just kind of curl up in a ball and boom, they go down. Or even sometimes when there are outs, they just don't want to look for them. And they get into this mode of learned helplessness. That seemed to be Seligman's claim to fame for a long time, and he took a lot of spin-offs on that. And then he realized there was a lot more to that. It's just that, in the sense that just as when people learned how to be pessimistic in their outlook and developed this sense of learned helplessness, they could also learn how to be more optimistic. So therefore, he became very involved in the positive psychology movement, in terms of people taking active steps to interpret things, reframe things, look at things, and work on techniques that would enhance their ability to perform more effectively, to be happier, to have more optimistic lives. So let's go back to what optimism is and why it's important for you, and why it's important for me, and why it's important for talking about mind, body, and spirit. I guess the simplest thing is it's when you're an optimistic person, you're in this state of hopefulness, and you have this confidence about the future. You think things are going to basically go well. You believe that there's going to be a happy ending to things in most cases. Not foolishly, but based on your experience, based on how you plan to deal with it. Now, the good thing, and what I want to share with you, is there's, and I'm going to do it in several other little clips like this on other areas with optimism. There's some tricks and some techniques and some simple habits that you can use that will dramatically, and I mean dramatically, increase your level of optimism. So don't turn this off. Give me another few minutes, and I'm optimistic, almost certain that you'll appreciate it, and you'll feel much better at some point in time if you practice any of them. One is to kind of prune to screen your social media accounts. Here's one for the 21st century. I mean, this wasn't in the past, but I guess people would say, you lie with the dogs, you wake up with the fleas. There's an old one, an old adage. Well, the same thing, people spend inordinate amounts of times, I know I do that sometimes, on social media accounts. So when you're on there, hey, how many of them are uplifting and positive or filled with realistic good stuff for your mind, body, and spirit? And how much of them are junk or negative or shock value or an algorithm that's meant to fire you up? Prune those things down. Clip them off. Keep a few out there just to, when you need to get fired up, I guess. And, the other times, knock them off. The same with people. If you have people who just can't say anything positive, boom. You may have to offload them for a while, or block them for a while, or just not pay attention. You don't have to be, to eliminate them. Just, skip over. You see too quickly. Well, no, go. Goodbye. Because it's not good for you. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your blood pressure. It's not good for your levels, your glycemic index. It's not good for a whole variety of things. And you'll develop a lot of, negative perceptions that are constantly being confirmed by a group of people who are negative anyway. So it's not even an accurate confirmation. It's like watching Fox News all day long, or MSNBC on the other side. It's very, sometimes a little bit one-sided, or sometimes a lot one-sided, okay? Another thing that you can do, number 2, is write letters of gratitude, or keep a journal about things that you're grateful for. And when you develop a sense of gratitude, scientifically, spiritually, common sense wise, whatever you want to call it, what the research pretty much shows is that when you're very grateful, it's one of the strongest predictors of how you're going to feel for your general well-being. Your life may not be perfect, but your general well-being is going to be a lot better if you believe or have these feelings of gratitude about life and the people in your life and the situations, or that kind of stuff. And again, it's one of the best single predictors out there on how well you're going to function as a person. And that's an important thing. Another thing that you can do is when you do get fired up about something, when you do get all negative or feeling down in the dumps about something, to do a reality check and say, hey, is this really worth it? Is this person or this situation, are they just trying to rile me up, to fire me up? And that's like trolls on on the internet. People come on, they just troll, they just fire you up, boom, they go to the next thing. Okay, we got this guy, or we got this gal. We got them fired up. They're writing these big long things. Their blood pressure's high. Dump that stuff out. Don't do it. Looking for things that are going well kind of like ties into gratitude, but a little bit different. To write down objectively, like a critical thinker, what went well today? What's going well in my life? What what goal did I meet? What good thing happened today? Very important. Most of my career in psychology, besides being a psychologist, I've been a program director, a supervisor. I've supervised a lot of people, or very small, intense teams, large teams, multiple teams, other agencies, whatever. And one of the things that I found is when I would have to chair meetings, a very successful technique for me and the people who were at the meetings was insist on one thing, that we go around the table at the end and we say, what do we, what do you think that we accomplished at the meeting? And what's going well in the program? What's going well in the agency? Why? Because whether you work in a bureaucracy or somebody else's company or it's yours or whatever you're doing, you're part of it. When people say it's just the bureaucracy, I would say you're the bureaucracy. I'm the bureaucracy. We're all part of that. You're one cog in the wheel, and that's the way things are. It isn't that this is some imaginary thing out there and you're not involved in it. So take a look at it and do yourself a favor and take a look and see how important you are. It's kind of like if you're a parent or a teacher or a clinician or a neighbor and you want to get along and feel good about people, catch them doing something right. Even with politicians, try it. I mean, you may think President Trump is the worst person in the world, or Nancy Pelosi, but even a broken clock is correct 2 times a day. Think about that. Even a broken clock 2 times a day. In a 24-hour period, 2 times. They're right on with the time. So even the wackiest of people can have some good things going on, and it's important to look at those. Another trick to be more optimistic is to throttle back on the news a little bit there. Take a breather from negative news. It's not taking a breather from reality. Take a breather from negativity. Put it down in low gear. Take the short version of, if you know a situation with something that's happening in the world, if you've heard it for 35 days in a row, you don't need the long version that day. I know for most of my life, I would never, get up in the morning until I've retired. That rule's kind of been broken sometimes. But don't get up in the morning, or I don't get up in the morning and read the paper or hit the news or turn the radio on or something like that where I want to hear somebody got killed or whatever it is, or, you'll hear people, oh, Jesus, look at the weather. It's the weather, man. It's too cold out today. It is, really. You're above the ground. It's a lot warmer than being dead. Or come to the hospital with me and see the person laying there, like that. You won't care too much about the weather. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't care if there's a blizzard and you have to travel, or you have to shovel 15 feet of snow, but come on, it's not the end of the world, man. If you can't do it, don't do it. Pay somebody. If you can't pay somebody, wait till it melts a bit. You get what I'm saying. Throttle back on the news. If you really want to feel better in a hurry, I used to tell people, walk around the block, exercise in the fresh air, but before you go, a little bit, eat a multi-grain bread sandwich with a little turkey, lettuce and tomato, and then go out and have your walk. And you're getting the best of all the worlds. You got a slow-burning carb, you're out in the fresh air, and you're exercising. Wow, life is good. A little protein, a little carbohydrate, good mixture in there. For your body to get the sugar burning slow and slow, fresh air, seeing all the different sights, having your heart pumping, getting that blood out to your brain, the other vital organs in your body. hormones, neurotransmitters all firing off correctly, due to the food that you've had. Combine some decent sleep and diet with that, and exercise. Wow, are you going to feel a lot more optimistic? And if you have anxiety or depression, plan on getting like a 10 or 15% relief from that just by eating, sleeping well, and doing some exercise. And then you'll say, hey, it's not so bad. I mean, I can knock some of this off without any pills, without any psychotherapy, without anything, just through some exercise. Now, if you use some other alternative techniques as well as some scientific ones, wow, who knows? Maybe you want to do some tapping, some massage, some rock, whatever works for you. Those kinds of things. That ties into finding a supportive group. If you want to be more optimistic, find people that support you, and be careful what you want to be supported in. Now, if you want to find a hate group that supports some thought that you have, no, I'm not suggesting that. You can get enough of that just online or watching television or walking through your neighborhood, right? And finding the grumpy neighbor that you can say, isn't life terrible? You don't want any of that. Find a supportive group about something that's beneficial to you, or something that you believe in that's kind or wonderful or good, or helps better humanity, or some goal that you have. Pet lovers of the world, or whatever. I mean, it's a wonderful thing about my little 20 some odd pound little Bernie Sanders, my little mutt, my little son there, Bernie. Jesus, I can't go any place and people keep stopping me and want to hug. The mailman carries him in his mail bag. He actually gets in the mail truck. You can't be grumpy with Bernie. You can't. He's just the cutest little guy. And I'm really not kidding you with that. It's why people become crazy animal lovers. I was actually at the vet with him this afternoon, and the vet was saying the same thing. She doesn't trust people who don't have good feelings towards animals, cats and dogs in particular. And I was telling her, that's how I was trained as a psychologist, classically. The first thing we looked at, the old timers would say, look to see if this person's cruel to animals, things that, things that have fur on them, things that cuddle, and things like, not a good sign, folks. It doesn't mean some people just don't like cats or dogs for, they've been traumatized or bitten or something like that. But people generally gravitate to things like that. So my point is, you want to find a supportive community. You want to be around things that are uplifting and good for you. And pets are one of them. People are one of them. Groups of things that, causes and things. So you get the idea. Another good thing to instill optimism in yourself, and remember, these are all tricks and techniques and habits, is hard work. It defeats failure. And if you're working on something, to not view failure as a terrible thing. It's great to fail a number of times and then to succeed. It builds character, it builds persistence, it builds discipline, it builds self-confidence. My goodness gracious, I used to love boxing and martial arts and all things like that, any kind of competitive sport. You'll see that the real experts, they're the guys and gals who go down to the 2-minute warning, and that's where the game is won, or the 11th, 12th, 13th rounds, whatever. They know they're the championship rounds. Because the other rounds, they may be tied, they may lose some, they may win some, but then they build off of that, and they have an expectation that they're going to win, or they're going to do well, or they're going to do the best that they can. Okay, so hard work, is a good thing, and it's not don't take the quick route with everything. You can't lose that 50 pounds or 20 pounds or 30 pounds that took you 20 years to put on. You can't lose it in a week. Even though, Marie Osmond tells you just, eat the things, and you got a guy going like this with his pants, you're going to lose 15 pounds in a week, and that may all happen. Then you're going to bounce it back on. But if you put some hard work in with some exercise, and, you go to a nutritionist, or use some common sense, or do a little research, or you do this. You see, you take this hand that's going up here like this, and here, don't do that. Put it at your side, do a little work, a little discipline. I know it's hard. We all, suffer with that at times. You'll be doing okay. All right? This is part of mind, body, and spirit. And the last two are things that people don't realize that are spiritual, but they really are. And they're also things that are wonderful attitudes and actions, thoughts and actions that we can just do consciously, whether you see them as spiritual or not. One is to serve other people, to keep it in your mind that serving other people is a good thing. You know, the golden rule, caring about other people, having empathy, liking other people, looking for the best in other people, doing something for somebody else other than yourself. Okay? And the next one follows on top of that, putting other people first. I think that's very different than a lot of the information that we get today, culturally, spiritually, psychologically. We hear a lot of psychobabble, a lot of other things where everything is telling you, about you have to love yourself and take care of yourself and do yourself, and everything is self-interest, and this is important for yourself. And I think there's a confusion. There's a confusion with people when we become codependent with other people, when we lose ourselves in other people, when we lose our self-respect or forget where our identity ends and another person's identity begins. I think we confuse this incessant idea about self-praise and self-love and with self-respect, or liking yourself, or thinking you're a nice person, or getting feedback from other people realistically, or being a good judge of information, saying, yeah, I'm a nice person, and then leaving it at that, and understanding that it's a given that you feel good about yourself. And if you don't for some reason, then you may have to work on it with some extra effort and remind yourself about self-love and things like that. I get all that. But for a person who hasn't been traumatized or had an unrealistic amount of negativity, get off the thing with me, and start to also look about other people, about we. More of a we kind of a thing. What can we do together? And it's not about being codependent or isolated. It's about being interdependent with other people. An interdependency. That's not codependent. Getting along with other people, caring about other people, empathizing with other people. That's a wonderful thing. And you lose that and I lose that when we become all tribalistic and pessimistic, everything, because we start building barriers and walls and shutting off people and not caring about things, not thinking or having confidence and happy, good endings. We're not aspiring to anything. We're doing just the opposite. And the only person it helps, rather the only person it hurts, other than marginalizing other people or marginalizing the wonderful experiences we could have with them, is you and me. It's not, if other people are nice, if other people are aspiring for good things, they're going to find other good things in life, and you're not going to be one of them. You're not going to have that opportunity to share with another person those good things. You're going to be building these walls. You're more interested in loving you. So love other people, and with the love that they'll give you back and the caring that they'll give you back, you'll have plenty of self-love. You'll feel love from other people is a wonderful thing. So it's something to aspire to, and it's something to be optimistic about, and something you can work on. Sometimes we're not loved by other people, sometimes, because we're not lovable. And that's why mind, body, and spirit's a good thing to think about sometimes. It's a good reminder for me. It's a good reminder for you. Okay? Along with that, like I said, try putting other people first. That doesn't mean being codependent. That doesn't mean beating yourself up. It doesn't mean that that's a sickness that you have or something terribly wrong, or what the hell is the matter with you? You're putting other people first. You're number one. You're number one. We're number one. No. That's the mark of a decent, civilized, intelligent, confident person who believes that you can put other people first and still meet your own needs, that you have confidence in yourself. You're capable of living life and doing good things and feeling well. You want to share that with other people. You put other people first in some things. It's being kind and considerate. I think they're good pieces of advice for optimism. Well, you get it, and I like to keep these videos under 30 minutes. most of the time under 15 minutes. But this was a good one, I think, and I outlined some stuff that I wanted to go over, and I love to share this kind of stuff. I have a web designer and some other people that I will be working with that are going to put together, I hope, a very lovely website that's going to include videos for mind, body, and spirit, any other things that we want to put on that, as well as the podcasts that where you can access them. If you like the podcast, which a lot of people have been very sweet and kind in listening to them, and give me some feedback that they enjoy them. They're on all the platforms. They're on iTunes, Anchor, Breaker. There's about 8 different platforms. You can certainly get them. You can go right to your podcast thing on your phone and just punch in Stan Wanglund talking about mind, body, and spirit. It'll punch right up for you all the episodes, and they'll be included here. If you have a question or you have a comment for a topic, or you want to make a comment on this, feel free to do so after the video. The other thing is, if you want to reach me for any particular reason to be a guest on the podcast or for any of those other things, you can get me at swanglund@gmail.com. That's swanglund@gmail.com. You can look me up on Facebook under Stanley Wanglund. I'm on Twitter, Stanley Wanglund, just at @Wanglund. There you go. You're on Twitter. And again, if you like the podcast, it's Stan Wanglund talking about mind, body, and spirit. So you've got a number of ways to get in touch. If you like the video, hit the like thing there. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. And since I am going to be building the YouTube into a bigger concern, if you want to subscribe, to the videos, just hit the subscribe button. And every time I do one of these things, which is going to be very frequently, then you'll get notified, and you can run under the covers and not watch it. No, I hope that you watch it, very much so. So hit that subscribe button, and any comments, if you like things, you get the idea. Okay. Well, thank you for listening. I enjoyed the podcast very much, and I also enjoy, just doing these videos where we can see one another, and they're nice and authentic for me, and I hope they are for you. With all that in mind, I hope you have a wonderful, safe weekend. I'm doing a very interesting podcast with a very lovely lady who's a podcaster, and I'll give people a shout out when it's done this weekend. And I have some great guests coming up on my show there. I also have a comedian from the area that just got finished up at the Gotham Comedy Club in New York City, and he's going to be on my podcast soon. And maybe I can get him on the video to be just hysterical. But we'll see. Okay, so have a nice night. Peace and love to everybody. And this is Stan Wanglund saying good night and goodbye. We're talking about mind, body, and spirit. Bye-bye now.